So let's talk about bookkeeping. What is bookkeeping in comparison to accounting? What function does a bookkeeper do, and what is going to be expected of you as the bookkeeper as your daily tasks and what you need to do? Is the process of capturing transactions, reconciling those bank accounts. So if you have a bank account, let's say with one bank, bank two, making sure that what is reflecting on the system that you are working on, what we have recorded, is the same as what has been recorded on the bank statement, and that last balances. So also reconciliation also means that when you get a payment from customer A and that payment is generated because there was an invoice that was issued from that customer, then you are able to link the payments to the customer invoices that were issued to make sure that that statement that you're going to be sending to the customer reflects the invoice that was issued, the payment that the customer has paid, and the balance at the bottom. So that is the process of the reconciliation. You're going to be reconciling, and then you're also going to be reconciling the customer and supplier accounts. Daily processing of invoices. If you are working with a business owner, I'll make an example with the doctor. Maybe doctors use different invoices that actually cater for their industry because they have to use certain medical aid codes, they have to use specialized codes. Then you can take those invoices and process them into a system, the accounting system, maybe Sage Accounting or Zero, and then link that original invoice that the doctor is using in their practice. Link it. For example, the doctor has issued an invoice to a customer who they're supplying something. That invoice is for surgery. All you need to do is capture surgery. You don't need to capture the entire codes that he had to do an injection of this code. He had to issue this kind of medication. He had to issue this. You don't have to drill down to that level. That is all going to be on their invoices that they issue to the medical aid or to you as the patient. But then you as the bookkeeper only need to record the balances and the VAT if it is there. So you're going to be processing invoices, 2 invoices, customer invoices and supplier invoices. Also, you're going to be maintaining those accurate records. Like I've mentioned before, maintaining accurate records as a bookkeeper at the core of what the function is making sure that invoices are recorded correctly, payments are allocated correctly. Payments that are coming from customers are allocated to the invoices so that the statements come out correctly. And then the payments that are coming from different suppliers, the payments that you are making to the suppliers as the business that you're working for, they are allocated to the supplier invoices that have been issued by the suppliers. So those linkages and making sure that those are correct. Maintaining of financial invoices, we want the business owner to be able to pull a statement and see, let's see customer A, how much do they owe us? They have that information at their fingertips. Let's see the suppliers. How much do we owe on our suppliers? They have that information on their fingertip. So if that is the reason why you can work well also with an accountant, because accountants are not there to making sure that daily transactions have been done. They are more importantly into the financial analysis. That's why the bookkeeping is also a function that is important within a business. So like I said, I'm going to explain bookkeeping in relation to accounting because there's sometimes a misconception of what is accounting, what is bookkeeping. Those are 2 functions. Accounting focuses more on financial analysis. So once you've put all this information, then accountant comes in, can say, we owe too many suppliers. Our suppliers, we have more debt than we do have in revenue coming in. Or coming in to say there's too much invoices that are issued on credit than customers that are paying us cash. Also, they are able to go into the tax planning side to kind of project the tax that is going to be paid by the business owner, to say, all right, then we do the tax breakdown and then plan for provisional tax and also plan for the annual the tax debt in whole. Compliance advisory is telling them exactly what they can do, and if they want to go into the customs, for example, the business wants to go into customs and import, what are the tax implications of that? What can they do to make sure that they're not paying as much tax as they need to? VAT advisory as well, reconciling the VAT, SART returns, and then financial strategy. So financial strategy is used by businesses to make informed decisions if they want to scale, they want to build the businesses, they want to open more branches. Scaling means you are expanding the business, you are achieving more goals for the business. So you want to open another branch. Financial strategy, what is the strategy? Able to advise on that financial impact of whatever the business owner is trying to do. So can you see that these two functions can work together? Because an accountant that focuses on capturing transactions is abandoning the work that is critical that they need to be doing. An accountant that is focusing on reconciling bank accounts is not focused on the financial projections and the compliance advisory side. So that is the function of that. So as an accountant, that's why we're going to talk about opportunities that you're going to have in this business when you are working as a bookkeeper. Now let's talk about why bookkeeping is a good business opportunity for you. Businesses struggle with 4 major challenges. Small businesses, especially those ones who do not have the budget to hire. So hiring an employee or hiring an accounting firm that has a bookkeeping. So there's a lot of businesses that are looking for this, that are struggling with these challenges. Record keeping track of transactions consistently. Compliance and reporting, meeting tax and legal deadlines, regulatory requirements, generating accurate financial reports. Documentation. At the time where they have to interact with an accountant, then they're going to be asked for receipts, for invoices, especially if someone is VAT registered and they're claiming VAT on that invoice. But if they don't have proper documentation, they don't have those receipts, those invoices, they can't claim because there's no supporting documents that they can actually produce. Because at any time, SARS can actually pick up the company for verification and say they want this kind of documents to verify. They can pick up for an audit, which is bad, because if they go and approach an accountant without those documents in place already, then we're going to create a back and forth between the business and the owner, which is ineffective because there are deadlines which they need to have completed that information. Cash flow management. Cash flow management is a direct result of not keeping all of these documents and record keeping, because some businesses would literally say, I am making money, but I don't know where the money is going, because there's no management, there's no monitoring of income and expenses to ensure that enough money is there to operate. For example, you cannot have more suppliers that you are paying on a monthly basis for example, in the current month, than you do have customers that pay you on a current month. So it should be the other way around. You should be pushing customers to pay you in current month and 30 days, and the suppliers should be paid at least in 30 days and then 60 days if you have good relationships. So that is a core of cash flow management, meaning you make the money sit longer with you as the business to make sure that you always cash float. Yes, you always have the cash available for any unforeseen circumstances and also opportunities, because if a person is running a small business, they need to make sure that they can jump in at any time. They need to be liquid. They need to jump into opportunities that need them to actually inject some sort of capital for them to maximize their revenue. So the whole part is the core function of the business is to maximize their revenue and the profits. So they need to have those cash reserves that are always sitting there, that are not tied up in expenses and debt that they are paying on a monthly basis. So it is valuable in the marketplace to have a bookkeeper, someone who's going to make sure that those are achievable, those goals are achieved, and then the documentation is there. So when they have to submit a SARS return, the documents are there. When there's an audit, no one panics, because we do have those source documents. If there's anything that needs to be verified, we always have that. Compliance reporting at any stage, we're able to have that information at the fingertip. That is why bookkeeping, you as the bookkeeper, you bring in that as the value in the marketplace when you work together with small business owners that are not able to hire permanent staff to make sure this is achieved. So who is this course for? Who is this masterclass, or who can do it? Well, we have every kind of opportunity. You have to have some level of skill that you have to have as the base for you to get started. Number one, ICB, Institute of Bookkeepers, of Chartered Bookkeepers that have certifications. They have the core understanding of debits and credits. They have the core understanding through ICB certification on how to record transactions, which is exactly what I said that a bookkeeper is going to be doing: accurate reporting, accurate reconciliation. Then ICB certified bookkeepers are able to start the business of bookkeeping. Accounting and finance students, if you're a graduate, you're a finance student, you can get started if you're still a student as well, because you have the core understanding and you're going to be working together with the business owner to gain that experience. So if you're a graduate, you're sitting at home, you can take advantage of this opportunity. This is going to be a long process because now everything that you're starting, you're going to allocate time for learning, allocate time for failure, allocate time for challenges. Then, and before you achieve the actual level of perfection that you are eventually going to have after you've gained your required experience. Then professionals working in accounting and finance, just the background of understanding what accounting terminology is. Working as a professional in the accounting space, you can do it as a side hustle. Like I've mentioned in my About Me, I was working a 9 to 5 in the tech space, and I started with a side hustle with the bookkeeping and accounting. Then you can absolutely do this to actually see and generate more revenue in something that you're already doing at work. Then you can actually monetize it by making it your side hustle and maybe your side business, and then grow it from there into maybe what I have done as well, and have your own accounting practice that you can work in on a full-time business, which you have made a business. This is how beginners can gain experience working. Let's say you don't work in the finance department, you've never started working before, and you've got these qualifications and you're either a student. How can you get started? The first thing is to volunteer. Yes, volunteer. We understand we all want money, but then volunteering actually gives you exposure with not risking the other person's without increasing the other person's risk. Because when you are working, that's how I started as well, actually. When you are starting out, you have no experience, and the other person just wants to generate a profit. They don't want someone who's sitting there as an expense. And when you get your foot in the door as a volunteer, everyone's guard is down. They think, oh no, we're not carrying a new expense lines of someone who can take us to CCMA if we don't pay them. But then also all you have to carry is your commitment to this job. What are you committed to doing? What are you going to do? And then you need to achieve this with a plan. So let's go through your whole volunteering plan. How is it going to look like if someone who's never worked before in this environment and wants to learn? You're going to come in with a plan. You're going to volunteer with intention. Your mindset must shift from I need experience to I can create value. That's what you might think there. You're gonna come in and say, you can't come into someone's business and say, hi, can I please work so I can get experience? You want to give them something that I'm going to create value, because I've shared with you what the pain points of the small businesses that are not able to hire. You're gonna come with saying, these are your pain points. You're not record keeping, you're not documenting, you are failing behind on your compliance. Let me come in and then create this value by doing your bank reconciliations, cleaning up your messy books, setting up your accounting systems, and then also making sure that you have records of your financial performance on a monthly basis. That's how you're going to start positioning yourself as someone who is going to come in and bring value into the business. You create the value before you charge. Before someone can see that something is, especially when they don't need it, they're not coming out to employ anyone. Have you seen, guys, that the job market actually now is very difficult to get in, because the most business owners don't want to carry that expense line, because also they're struggling as well to get those invoices paid on time. So they cannot guarantee that they are going to pay your salary on time. So you are going to shift the mindset. Creating the value that before you charge means that I've cleaned up these accounts for you. This is what I've done for you. You are presenting what you've done for the business owner. The business owner is able to see and review and think, hey, this is what actually has been missing in my business. I'm able to focus on this because I can see my sales that I've done for the week. Then I can see how much has been, we can see the leaks in our expenses. Now they're starting to see why they need you, not the other way around. But the time that you are sending them a charge, you are having that conversation of, all right, this is going to be this amount. It's just you now trying to assign the value that you've already created and translating it into monetary compensation. So you're in already by volunteering. So you need to draft a plan of which businesses you've identified around you that you can create an impact on. Of course, the other value that you're going to create is your value that is personal to you, but that's not just what you're supposed to sell to the business owner. What is going to be personal to you as your value is the experience, because it's where you're able to make mistakes, learn and unlearn, and then be committed to something that is going to benefit you. Here's a 90-day plan. Month 1, you learn and practice. Work closely with one or two small business owners. Focus local business owners, find them in your area. Focus on understanding their transactions. Don't rush this process, because I think a lot of people think they know things, even though let's say you work in a corporate company. In a corporate company, it's such a big scale. You don't know the transaction from start to finish, because there's so many functions that are done in that corporate company. It's going to be a different experience working with a small business owner. Once you've understood their transactions, for example, there's such a thing that we call allocation. So there are some times that you're going to not know where to allocate a certain expense because it's so vague. You don't know what they use it for. So when they start, because they use certain terminologies in different industries that you're not exposed to. I'm going to make an example with logistics. You're not exposed to certain terminologies there. Then you have to go back to them and say, what is this expense for? Then they're going to translate that information to layman terms for you to understand and be like, oh, okay, I understand now what that transaction is about. And then you record it in accounting terms. Then you're going to record it as cost of sales. You're going to record it as entertainment, record it transport and accommodation, because you understand exactly what the transaction was for. Then month 2, delivering the results. Month 1, of course, you're going to deliver the results, but now you're going to be more confident. You've completed the reconciliations, you've produced basic reports, you have identified areas where the small business owner needs to improve, and also where the actual documentation and missing invoices are. You've identified those, and then you're able to present a complete report to the business owner to tell them exactly where you think they are failing or falling behind, or maybe I would say where they have challenges. Then after that, then you're going to position yourself and transition into getting that conversation now that we want to get to, the one where we either ask for a testimony from them if they don't have the budget to pay us, and then also we're going to propose a monthly package if that is what they want to do, to retain, because you've created so much value with them. Now they can see. There's a thing that when you come into a space and then you create value, and then when you've moved away from them, then they can start seeing the chaos that was there before you actually had an impact into their business. So you're gaining real experience, you're getting testimonials, you're getting a case study, not just a case study from them, a case study of you actually positioning yourself to actually understanding the industry. You know now that you can actually talk to another person who's an accountant in that field and say, I know where these expenses experiences are for and why they treat it this way. And you're gaining, most importantly, confidence. Confidence is not something that you can outsource. It is something that's going to come from you implementing and working on that project on a daily basis, on a monthly basis. That confidence, learning and unlearning and going through the challenges, is going to build that confidence. And of course, the cherry on top, you are going to craft a plan that's going to result you into a paying customer. That's what we want to achieve. A paying customer is what you are going to craft into this 90-day plan. You can actually pause this and look at this plan that I've crafted for you, and then maybe you can tailor it into your business needs and what you're thinking you want to do in the future. Transitioning from free to paid. Don't stay free forever. That's why it's a 90-day plan. Don't stay free forever. No one ever values anything that comes for free. You don't want to position yourself in that way. Come in, identify, create value, charge, move on. If the customer is not ready to give you that money for the not budget, then you ask for a testimony. You ask for them to be a reference, and then you move on. By simply saying that I'd love to continue assisting you in a structured way, the way I become your freelance bookkeeper. That's what we want. Because most of the time they don't want to hire someone, and you don't want to be hired as well, because that's not where you're going. You want to build a business. You've already created the value. This is the time now that you're going to charge for the services that you've done. These industries like NPOs are very reluctant to hire anyone because of the constraints in their budgets, but once you've created the value, then it's going to be easy for you to charge. Most industries, most business owners are reluctant to actually hire from the jump because they don't know who you are. They don't know what value you can talk in the interview, but they don't know if you still need to be trained, if you really don't know, if you have any kind of experience. Then you come in, craft that plan, have one or two. Then you're not going to volunteer at every business that you come in. Maybe some businesses you limit the time. You say, I'm going to volunteer for one month. It depends on your level of experience and your capacity. But then from the beginning, if you have no experience, you need to start from this and craft a 90-day plan that is going to work. And with let's say a project plan, because what I like about the word project, at its core, a project has a start and a finish date. It does not run forever. So this is going to be a plan that has a start and a finish. With every company that you're coming in, we're going to call it Project AA Bottle Store, Project AA NPO. Then, I'm starting in March. We are finishing this project at the end of May. We're starting in this period, ending in this period. It must have a clear start and a clear end date for your project, so you can craft that project and put it together and then go volunteer.